I'm useless. 2 words, sharp and raw, cutting through the engine noise and static of the team radio. To the casual fan, it sounded like a champion finally breaking under the weight of a bad day. But to those who know Lewis Hamilton, it was something else entirely. This wasn't surrender. It was a coded message, the kind only a seasoned driver delivers when the pressure is boiling, the stakes are sky high, and control is slipping away. On the other end of the line was Riccardo Adami, the man whose calm voice has steadied countless drivers under fire. But in that moment, even his measured tone carried the weight of a system struggling to keep its grip. What played out in Hungary wasn't just about lap times or tyre wear. It was the first glimpse into a deeper fight inside Ferrari, a quiet battle over who really holds the power. Before Hungary, the signs were already there for anyone paying attention. Ferrari came into the weekend under a cloud of pressure, still chasing the relentless pace of Red Bull and desperate to prove they could turn the season around. Inside the garage, the atmosphere was tense but quiet, the kind of silence that hides more than it reveals. Lewis Hamilton had arrived at Ferrari as the disruptor, the driver willing to push boundaries, question decisions, and challenge the way things had always been done. His season so far had been a mix of brilliance and frustration, with flashes of tension already showing in Monaco, Spa, and other races where his feedback clashed with the team's choices. And then there was Charles Leclerc, the established favourite, smooth and loyal, representing Ferrari's traditional way of doing things. 2 drivers, 2 philosophies, sharing the same space but pulling in different directions. Around them, engineers and strategists moved carefully, aware that every choice, from a suspension tweak to a tyre call, by the time they rolled into Hungary, the rivalry wasn't just about who was faster on track. It was about whose vision would shape Ferrari's future. When the lights went out in Hungary, the opening laps didn't hint at the storm that was coming. Hamilton was pushing, wrestling the car through every corner, but something wasn't right. The rear felt unstable, the throttle didn't bite when he needed it, and every fraction of a second lost was like sand slipping through his fingers. Then, over the radio, came the moment that would be replayed again and again. "I'm useless," he said, his voice sharp, clipped, and heavy with frustration. For most people listening, it sounded like a driver admitting defeat. But inside that cockpit, travelling at 300 kilometers per hour, it was closer to a declaration of war. On the other end, Riccardo Adami answered, his voice calm and deliberate, trying to steady the situation. "Lewis, you don't need to push anymore." The words were soft, but behind them, there was hesitation, a pause so slight you'd miss it if you weren't listening closely. In Formula One, that pause can be as dangerous as a mechanical failure. At these speeds, decisions aren't just made in seconds. They're made in fractions of seconds. Every lap lost to hesitation is ground given to your rivals. And in that instant, Hamilton knew the fight he was in wasn't just against the cars ahead. It was against the silence on the other end of his radio. The truth behind Hamilton's frustration didn't just come from the heat of the race. It was buried in the data. After Hungary, the numbers told a story the cameras never could. His throttle inputs were clean and precise, but the car wasn't reacting instantly. There was a delay, a hesitation between the moment he pressed and the moment the power came. On top of that, the rear of the car felt unstable under heavy cornering, almost as if it wanted to step out from under him. In Formula One, that kind of behaviour costs more than comfort. It costs lap time, position, and, in some cases, the entire race. Hamilton had spotted the issue early, even in Friday's practice sessions. During FP3, he flagged the problem to the team, pushing for changes to stabilise the rear and sharpen throttle response. But in the hours before the race, Ferrari's technical core made a last-minute decision. They overrode his preferred suspension setup, calling it an optimization for overall performance. For Hamilton, it wasn't optimization. It was a setup mismatch that left him fighting the car instead of driving it. To some, it looked like a miscalculation. To others, it felt deliberate, part of an internal battle for control over who really calls the shots inside Ferrari. And once that call was made, there was no turning back. The hesitation from Adami during that race wasn't just about finding the right words. It was the sound of political pressure creeping into the cockpit. At one point, Hamilton asked for engine map flexibility, a change that could have helped protect his tyres and claw back performance. It was a reasonable request, the kind engineers usually handle in seconds. But this time, there was a pause. Not because the adjustment was difficult, but because Adami had to weigh more than just lap times. In Ferrari, engineers walk a fine line between loyalty to their driver and loyalty to the orders coming from higher up. It's a balancing act that can put even the most experienced race engineer in an impossible position. Inside the team, the split was clear. On one side were the traditionalists, those who believed in sticking with Leclerc, the driver who fit the Ferrari mould. On the other were the quiet risk-takers, the ones curious about what Hamilton's aggressive style could unlock. Every decision, every moment of hesitation on the pitwall was shaped by that divide. And in Hungary, the pause in Adami's voice was proof that even in the heat of battle, politics had found its way into the race. For Hamilton, the radio isn't just a lifeline to his engineer, it's a stage. Every word he speaks during a race is heard not only by his team, but also by millions watching and listening around the world. That's why moments like "I'm useless" aren't simply bursts of emotion. They're calculated messages aimed far beyond the cockpit. Earlier in the season, in races like Monaco and Spa, he had dropped similar hints, short, sharp lines that sounded like frustration, but carried a second meaning. They were signals to Ferrari's leadership, reminders to the media, and rallying cries to the fans who know how to read between the lines. This is Hamilton's way of applying public pressure without stepping out of the car. In a sport where so much happens behind closed doors, these messages force conversations into the open. They make it harder for the team to quietly brush off his concerns or bury disagreements. Every time he speaks like this, it's not just venting. It's leverage, carefully built in the heat of battle, where every word can shift the balance of power. After Hungary, something in Hamilton's approach began to change. The flashes of open frustration started to fade, replaced by a colder, more calculated style. He still spoke up when it mattered, but now every move felt deliberate, every word chosen for effect. Away from the cameras, he began to shape the direction of the team in quieter ways. In simulator sessions, his car setups were suddenly given priority, his feedback guiding new experiments with aerodynamics, suspension, and tyre strategy. During internal briefings, he pushed for specific changes and logged every detail, building a clear record of what he'd asked for and when. And slowly, Adami started to align more closely with him. The engineer who once hesitated now echoed Hamilton's points in meetings, defending his feedback and pressing for adjustments the team might have ignored before. In the garage, it didn't go unnoticed. Some saw it as the natural trust between a driver and his engineer growing stronger. Others saw the start of a quiet rebellion, a shift in influence that could eventually decide who really sets the course for Ferrari's future. Hamilton wasn't just driving anymore, he was building something bigger, piece by piece, without making a sound. Inside Ferrari, the contrast between their two drivers couldn't be sharper. Hamilton thrives on adaptability, pushing the car to its limits, experimenting with lines, braking points, and setups to find speed where no one else sees it. His style is aggressive, unpredictable, and often forces the team to think outside the box. Leclerc, on the other hand, is the embodiment of control. His driving is smooth, consistent, and built on precision, making him a natural fit for Ferrari's traditional, cautious engineering approach. These two philosophies don't just shape how they race, they shape how the car itself is developed. Engineers face a constant tug of war. Do they build a machine that thrives in Hamilton's chaos, or one that reinforces Leclerc's stability? Every adjustment, from suspension stiffness to aerodynamic balance, feels like a choice between two paths. And in a sport where fractions of a second matter, this isn't just a technical debate. It's a question of identity for Ferrari. Are they willing to embrace the volatility that might deliver glory, or will they hold on to the predictability that has kept them steady but short of the ultimate prize? That unspoken question hangs over every meeting, every setup, every lap. Now, all eyes turn to Monza, Ferrari's home turf, where the grandstands will be a sea of red and the pressure will be heavier than anywhere else on the calendar. For the fans, it's a celebration. For the team, it's a test unlike any other. Every choice made there, from qualifying strategy to tyre calls, will be watched, replayed, and dissected for signs of where Ferrari's loyalties truly lie. If Hamilton gets the strategic edge, it will send a clear signal that the team is ready to lean into his vision. If Leclerc gets priority, it will be seen as Ferrari doubling down on tradition. Monza isn't just another stop on the calendar, it's a reckoning. The roar of the tifosi, the weight of history, and the glare of the world's cameras will make every pitwall decision a gamble. And with both drivers fighting not just for points, but for influence, the race could shape Ferrari's future as much as the championship itself. In a season already marked by quiet battles and shifting loyalties, Monza could be the moment the civil war inside Ferrari bursts into the open for everyone to see. So now the question can't be avoided. Should Ferrari stand by Leclerc, the loyal prince shaped in red, or throw their weight behind Hamilton, the disruptor who's already rewriting the team's DNA from the inside? This is no longer a distant what if. The civil war inside Ferrari is here, and every race is another chapter. Loyalties are shifting, influence is being built in whispers and data sheets, and the team's identity is hanging in the balance. The next strategic call, the next pit stop decision, even the next line Hamilton drops over the radio could tip the scales for good. In a sport where fractions of a second decide legends, Ferrari's choice will define more than just a season. It will decide who leads them into the future, and what kind of team they truly want to be.